Thank you for coming to this evening. I would like to call the council meeting to order.
This meeting will also be conducted by audio and video conference without the requirement of a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may not be practical or prudent. Alderpersons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of the meeting, please join by phone at 1-252-858-0091, PIN 578-104-998 #.
Thank you very much. Can we have roll call?
Alderperson Robinson.
Present.
Hurt. Alderperson Hurt. Gilbert.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poulos.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
And Mayor Tomes.
Here. Thank you. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Remain standing for a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Public comment. There must be a few. Just a couple. All right, we do have a few here that have signed up. Enough of them that we do have to make sure that we keep our comments to 5 minutes, please. Please keep them to 5 minutes so everybody has a fair shot and a fair time at the microphone. So we will work through this. Rudy, you're up first. Come on up.
Okay, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity, and the city council members. It's a pleasure to be here. First time I ever talked in front of a committee like this. My name is Rudy Vallejo, and I'm here to talk about the Indian that blew down on, I think it was April the 4th, over there on Rock Island on 11th Street, Watchtower Plaza. My position on the Indian is I would like to keep it, and I would like to restore it. I would like to restore it. I would like to get it done the same way it was put up. We had the 2 arrows that are missing. Repaint the Indian, and the damage that we've seen, it could be repaired. But of course, I'm going to have to get the people that know a little bit more about maybe it's porcelain, maybe it's steel. I don't know, but I think people will know if we get that in our possession. But that's my goal, is to get it, to put it up. I mean, not to get it and to restore it, and and just keep it in storage until possibly we can find a place to put it. And I don't know where it's going to be. I mean, I have a couple places in mind, but that's they might not accept it. Possibly our little organization 2B, maybe we can buy 5 acres of land somewhere and put that statue up on our 5 acres. But I do know, we all know that Rock Island is the home of Black Hawk, and at one time, the Black Hawk State Park, they had the most beautiful powwow grounds in the state. And all of our grandparents from Kansas, all over the country, came here to Rock Island to participate in powwows. That is no longer here. That is now a parking lot. So that was a sad thing, And I wish what I know now, what I would have done then, I would have, I would have fought a little bit of more of a battle to keep that powwow grounds going. It was a beautiful amphitheater type powwow grounds. And so that is gone. And so the statue that we have on 11th Street, again, I would really, really like to restore that and to keep it in our area. That's been up in our area for 62 years, if not longer. When it went down, there was a lot of people with a lot of memories that grew up with that statue that was at that Zayre's store, and I think they had the bowling alley, and so I heard a lot of great stories of, when they were young and what they did with their mom and dads, and so I believe that, if, maybe I can raise money to restore it. I'm going to have to, because I don't have the money, but I think I could start my nephew's looking into a GoFundMe page, and I think we can come up with some money to restore it, and that's the avenue that we'll take, like a GoFundMe, and I'll just try to do everything that I can. I know there's not everybody's going to be happy with the outcome. I know that, but I just ask the city members that these are your neighbors that voted you in for your jobs here, and I know many of you might have those memories also of that statue. So with that, Mayor, thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Getting a little nervous here, so thank you.
It's fine, you're fine, don't worry about it. It's fine, thank you very much. Okay, Norm, you knew you were next?
Yeah, I'm Norm Moline, 28th Avenue in Rock Island. And with all due respect to Rudy, there is an opposing view to this, not because I'm speaking against it, but the Native American Coalition, the organization, not an individual, which is trying to speak out for the best decision about this, they disagree with the idea of restoration. Regina, she wishes she could be here, but she's taking care of her mom in New Mexico, and so some of the rest of us have had to fill in on that. I strongly urge you to support the Native American Coalition's recommendation and the perspective of the Meskwaki tribal historian, Jonathan Buffalo, that the downed image commonly referred to as Black Hawk should be recycled. This is how Jonathan Buffalo noted to it. He despises that structure. This is the Meskwaki tribal historian, not an individual. He despises that structure. Every time he came to the Labor Day weekend powwow at Black Hawk Park and drove past that structure, he was insulted. And the historians and others have been doing so much to try and get beyond the image of Black Hawk as a warrior. Think of all the other things that go on in the Sauk Nation. Your council rarely gets any requests from the Native Americans, perhaps fewer than any other segment in the population. So since this was their land, and since Black Hawk was the most celebrated of its population, and since this image has offended most of the Native Americans here for many years, those Native Americans should be the prime influencers on its ultimate destination. Here is one time, after all those bad circumstances when the Sauk and Meskwaki lost their lands, that you can, in a small way, listen to them and follow their wishes. From a moral point of view, following their wishes is the right decision. To set their recommendation aside and go with another perspective, even by one individual, essentially is saying that the perspective of the Native American Coalition organization is not important. The image certainly should not be put up for economic bid. That simply can't happen. We can't let injustice continue. If there was an image of another group, such as Swedes, which is my heritage, or Irish Catholics, or African Americans, which was perceived as offensive by those groups, would the city allow simply an individual to secure that image and then resolve to keep it up without checking with organizations composed of people in those groups? I doubt it. I sure would hope not. I would hope that if they wanted to do something about Swedes, they would contact the the Swedish Historical Society, or the Quad City chapter of the American Scandinavian Association, and not just give it to Jim Johnson, who would like to do something with it. So rather, I suspect you would say, as a council, that you need to check with the key organization or organizations of those groups, which would be the right thing to do. So let's apply the same approach to Native Americans. At a time when many cities and private organizations are recognizing that some public words, statues, and other images related to Native Americans are offensive to the Native Americans, and are taking steps to make sure that those images, statues, and mascots are no longer around, Rock Island also should be doing the same. We don't want our city to resist such perspectives and actions, giving us a kind of cultural backwater appearance. Here is our time to do the right thing, to take the high road. So please, please listen to the Native American Coalition and the Meskwaki tribal historian, and vote to scrap and recycle the image. In closing, one of the images, rumors that was circulating, is that this might go to the Rock Island County new Forest Preserve site. Well, I checked with Mr. Kai Swanson, who, as you know, is the president of that commission. We talked, and I said, I may say something about it tonight, but I wanted to get his permission. Here's what he said, Kai Swanson. For sake of provision, I would be grateful if you said, quote, the president of the Forest Preserve Commission has confirmed that no conversations have been held on the matter with the elected leaders of the Forest Preserve Commission, and that there currently exists no interest on the part of the commission in accepting the sign in question. So please, please listen, not to me, listen to the Native American Coalition. Hopefully that would be something that somebody said you can never get consensus on the council. Since that's the right thing to do out of respect to that group, it should be easy to come up with a consensus, get it off your plate, and get it out of this public landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. All right, is it Jane or Simonson?
Thanks. I am Jane Simonson, and I teach over at Augustana College. And I'm not a member of the Native American Coalition of the Quad Cities. I'm not a Native American person, but I do teach history over at Augustana, and I have access to databases there where I could do some research. So I offered to do some research and present that to you today. And I guess my overall message is that as a city, Rock Island needs to be very careful with how it espouses and represents Native American people, and then who, as Norm said, participates in that conversation. So there's been a fair bit of research done by psychologist and Native American scholar Stephanie Freiberg on the impact of representations of Native people, particularly mascots, but not always. Pocahontas was another figure that she has studied, Sacagawea, other kind of historical figures that have been sometimes flattened in their public representation in the media. She shows that those kinds of representations have a negative effect on Native American kids and young people, and a more positive effect on white people. So Native kids feel more anxiety, more concern about how they are publicly represented, where white people tend to feel more positively towards them and feel that the representations that they have created are more ennobling. But maybe one thing to pay particular attention to is that any of these representations almost always have a negative overall effects on race relations of all kinds in a community. So she found that mascots increased depression and anxiety, that Native young people felt more threats to their safety and a more hostile climate in the community in which they were. while it boosted the self-esteem of white people, and they identified with those Native representation more strongly than other cultural groups did. Some boosters of Native mascots and other kind of caricatured representations often felt that Native people, quote, owed them something and should be grateful that they are represented. And she found that particularly because there are so very few representations of Native people across the board in media, that those that exist hold a lot more impact on people's feelings. For young people especially, it lowered their feelings that their communities could improve, the communities to which they belonged, and lowered their aspirations for achievement. So there are good findings, however, though. An organization called Reclaiming Native Truth did a widespread study across the U.S. in the year 2017, where they conducted focus groups, they analyzed social media messages, so collected a huge amount of information, and you can actually find all their findings are available online. They are a Native American-run organization. They surveyed all people in the U.S., no matter race or ethnic identity, and found that all participants largely believe that Native populations were declining in the United States, which is not true, that interviewees had broadly negative and broadly positive views of Native people, including that they were poor, alcoholic, and dependent, but also spiritual, family-oriented, and environmentally conscious. Many held contradictory beliefs about Native Americans. So, for example, they were both impoverished and wealthy from casinos, so a lot of confusion. Non-Native people don't know much about Native American history. I can absolutely confirm that. People know hardly anything at all, beyond very negative themes. But they did find that messages and images that thoughtfully introduce or reintroduce Native peoples to non-Natives and educate non-Natives about Native history and culture and values found the most traction across all constituent groups. The strongest messages connect Native cultures to broader American culture and celebrate Native values. They found that images should humanize Native American people and connect them to the present and not just the past. And that overall, across the board, their recommendation is that the production of Native American images and the continuance of Native American images should, wherever possible, be produced in collaboration with Native communities or by Native people themselves. So thank you.
Thank you. Vince Thomas,
Where'd you go? There he is.
come on up, Vince.
As a member of the Native American Coalition of the Quad Cities, our speaker, apparently something has happened. He was to be here earlier. So I wish to convey the decision of NACQC, and it's just two words: scrap and recycle. Thank you.
That's as short as you've ever been, Vince. Thank you. All right, is it Lisa? Pardon? Alonzo, thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lisa Alonzo. I am Potawatomi and Kickapoo Native American. I've lived in the Quad Cities my entire life. I've known this statue to be here my whole life. It is part of our Quad City. It's part of the Quad Cities. I disagree with some of the things some of the people have said. I agree with some of the things they do say. Coalition? What coalition? The person that's supposed to be in charge of the coalition don't even live in the Quad Cities. So for them to speak and say to scrap it, to me, is absurd. They don't even live here. They weren't born and raised here. So yes, everybody has the right to their opinion, but she and whoever the coalition is should not decide what we do with this statue. I know a lot of white people, and they are very, very interested in our culture. My uncle Rudy goes to schools, goes to different community, goes to the McCarta, educates people, and they love it. They can't get enough of it. Whenever he gets the opportunity to go somewhere, and he's always, he could be busy every day of the week going to different organizations and speaking about the Native Americans. We're very proud people. So there is, people do want to hear about the Native Americans. If people really knew who Chief Blackhawk was, they would be appalled on what happened to him. And we need to educate people. We don't need to scrap it. What, so that's just another way of putting the Native Americans, brushing them under the table again. We need to have our voices heard. I guess I just wanted to say that, and I don't know who the coalition is, but they don't live around here. If anybody's a coalition, it's the Potawatomi and Kickapoos, who's trying to fight and save this statue. I don't care where it goes. It can go back here in Rock Island. It can go to Silvis. It don't matter. But we need to keep it here so we can educate the cities of the Quad Cities. This is part of our heritage here. And to scrap it would be very sad, very, very sad. So I hope and pray that you make the right decision. Even if you don't give it to the Native Americans, give it to us and to some other organizations so we can keep it here. We would love to have powwows around it. My uncle, my brother has already put on a couple, we don't even call them powwows anymore, we call them teepee gatherings. So if this coalition, so to speak, is so high and mighty as they think they are, and I don't want to downgrade because they're Native Americans, I know two people, and if that makes a coalition and lets them decide what the rest of the community wants, that's not good. So I hope you let us keep it. We don't know where we want to put it, but we'd be willing to work with another organization to keep it in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is it Nancy and David?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
David and I have been residents for 12 years down the street to Dumarche, and we have loved living here for the last 12 years. But there has been some issues that have happened recently, and we want to voice our concern. Every weekend until 1:45, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that leads into Monday morning when we all have to wake up and go to work. The parking lot at Playmakers are filled with cars, as well as parked cars in the grassy area that are not where they're not supposed to park. There are also a few cars that start their own party from their cars with very loud shouting, boom boxes that rattle our windows. I have the videos, if anybody wants to see them later. I have many videos that I have taped that prove my point. Cars speeding down 22nd, doing donuts in the middle of 4th Avenue with police cars there. It isn't even summer yet. We should not have to endure this painful and unnecessary and disrespectful continuing situation to the residents of downtown, week after week. And now, gunfire and stabbing, which makes us feel very unsafe. We understand and respect this area. To the residents of downtown, that's also deemed commercial, but the businesses also need to respect that this is also residential, which they do not at Playmakers. The city's focus is to grow the downtown area, to make it safe to live. And yet, this disruption continues to happen until a resident is injured or killed in the line of fire. Please think about what's going on downtown in our area. We want to make sure that everybody is respected and honored, and that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you. All right.
Playmakers is
Oh, I'm
not,
sorry. Oh, go ahead.
Playmakers is not a good neighbor. They are noisy beyond belief, 3 nights a week or more. They are unsafe. We now have had a shooting this weekend and a stabbing. I don't feel safe in my home anymore, and that's unacceptable. Playmakers does not need to continue to operate.
Thank you. Erica.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I am here also to speak about Playmakers. It's the first time that we've come to council to talk about them, but we've spent many hours awake at night, including last night into this morning, so forgive me if I'm a little disheveled. It happens every Monday morning, as my coworkers would attest to as well, I'm sure. Playmakers opened in October of 21 and almost immediately started causing some issues with, as David and Nancy said, loud noise. And I know that it's a business, I know that it's a bar. This is egregious. It is rattling our windows. We have our windows closed. We sleep with earplugs in. We have special fans to try to drown out the noises, and it's just ridiculous. We've spent a lot of time sending emails to different aldermen. We've called the alderman. Alderman Parker can attest to that as well. We've tried to approach the owner of Playmakers, only to be told that the people outside of her building are not her responsibility. But as opposed to that, the liquor license, Chapter 3, Section 11, subsection P, under loitering and disorderly conduct, states that she is. I'm sure you guys have all read it, so I'm going to spare you the boring details of it, but it does say that that business is responsible for the adjoining and adjacent parking lots and areas that are associated, which would include the city parking lots that are there. Unfortunately, the 2 grass lots that they have taken over, they do donuts in them at all hours. Again, they close, as Nancy said, at about 1:45. So at 1:45, we are, if we're not, well, most of us are already awake. And have been since about 11 p.m. is when they open and when they start. So they are not a sports bar, as I believe they presented to you when they filed to get their liquor license. So starting at about 11, the noise starts. A lot of these people are not even going into the establishment. They set up their own outdoor party, and it persists until closing time. We had a previous meeting with the mayor. I was not able to attend. Thank you for meeting with the neighbors. And the city did put up some signs in the grassy parking lots saying, you know, that by city ordinance, they could no longer park there. They have abided by the one that is adjacent to and connected to our homes, but they still continue to use the grassy parking lot that has the billboard in it that's on the corner. They use that as their party parking lot. So as I'm sure you can imagine, all of that noise and it's screaming, yelling, dancing, loud music, again, that vibrates the windows, and then they do donuts when there's room. They urinate on the buildings. We've actually witnessed that. The litter is ridiculous. It's everything from regular bottles, which Blake Humphreys owns Airways. We've talked to him before. He pays to mow that grass lot, and those mowers hit the glass bottles, and they go flying. It's broken glass all over in the road, in the parking lots, in our grassy lot, which we walk our dogs through and we walk through. It's food containers. It's used condoms. You name it, it's there. And we are every Saturday morning, every Sunday morning, and every Monday out there trying to pick all of that up from them. After we met with the mayor and we put the signs up, or the city put the signs up, they did hire or appointed somebody to be some indoor security. Unfortunately, that's all they are. They don't police anything outside, which again, that ordinance that I cited earlier said that they bear primary responsibility for having security to ensure that loitering and disorderly conduct is not being conducted outside of the building, and they are not doing that. When they are getting everybody out of there, the gentleman does come out, and if we're not already awake, which we normally are, then all it is, it just consists of him yelling for everybody to get out with some pretty colorful language, which is neither here nor there. But then he's just yelling at everybody to get out. And so then that's when the donuts start, and I mean, it's ridiculous, and it goes on for hours. The police department, we've made multiple calls. I mean, I don't know, I would say probably a dozen so far this year, and that is reduced from last year just because we get to a point where it's like, why even call anymore? The police show up, they do everything that they can, and I thank them for their service there. As soon as they leave, well, as soon as they show up, the problem people leave, the police leave, the people come back, and it starts all over again. As Nancy stated, this past weekend was kind of the final straw for all of us. There was a shooting there, no fewer than 12 shots. I mean, and I think it was probably double that. I've heard that, and I saw in the news that they think it was next door. I am assured that it might have geographically happened next door. I truly believe it would not have happened, though, if Playmakers was not open. It happened at the hours that they are at their heaviest and their most active. They've shut down the roads before because of their traffic jams. So we thought, okay, well, they probably won't be open for the weekend then with such a shooting and an injury because of the shooting. They opened back up on Saturday, so we were hopeful that, okay, they just had a shooting, maybe it won't be as busy. It was busier on Saturday night. And they were having, I'm sorry?
About another 30 seconds, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine. They were having drag races up and down 3rd Avenue on Saturday night. And then last night, they had a stabbing. So it's getting worse. And I just don't think that it's something we just fought for the SSA. As David said, it's not safe. It's not going to bring businesses in. It's not going to bring residents in. So I think that something permanent needs to happen with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I don't think I need to reiterate everything that Dave, Nancy, and Erica just stated because my words would be the same. Unfortunately, me and Erica, our rear of our condos bear the brunt of everything because we're directly in line to where Playmakers is at. So when people park in the grass lots, if they stay in their own lot, is it noisy? Yeah. Is it tolerable? Yeah. Is it something I'm going to call the cops about? More than likely not. When it moves into the grass area, when they throw open their doors and my windows start vibrating, my walls start shaking, then it becomes an issue. I call the PD every weekend. I'm the one that made the 911 call early this morning in reference to the stabbing, and that was at 1:30. 30 to 40 people out there just yelling and screaming. RIPD shows up, crowd disperse, knew something happened because PD came back at about 2:15, cordoned off the street with their flashlights out looking for something. Well, I went over there in the morning and I found the blood trail. So it's pretty obvious that a stabbing happened because I didn't hear any gunshots. So it wasn't a shooting. This is getting unacceptable. I moved into this, unless, I can't attest to what Dave and Nan said. They've enjoyed living here for the past 12 years. I haven't. I moved here to Rock Island, downtown, in September of 19. It was good until I think Erica said the Playmakers started in early 21, if I remember correct. That's when everything started going bad. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't. It's unacceptable. We had a meeting with the mayor, and I also had a separate meeting with Chief Landy at the PD, March last year. These concerns were addressed, and they were going to look into it. They needed to build a file, And what I took out of the meetings was we needed something to happen to start working on a revocation of license. Well, you've had two things happen in one weekend. Where does it stop? Where does it end? What are we going to do about it? We have no enforcement. I highly commend the PD for being out there doing what they can with the resources they got. But from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, the city of Rock Island does not own 21st Street and 4th Avenue. The clientele of Playmakers do, because they just take control of it and no one is stopping them. If we get some saturation enforcement out there, if we start towing cars out of the lot, a $10 parking ticket is not going to deter them. It's not. And that has been shown ever since those signs have been put up. And the noise, as I said earlier, becomes increasingly loud when they park nearer to our residents and they open the doors. As I said earlier, if they stay in the Playmakers lots, it's tolerable. Something we can live with. I think everyone knows when they move to downtown Rock Island, there's certain things that you accept. The nightclubs and the bars. When we moved into our current residence, Playmakers was not there. Believe me, I checked the area out, okay? I knew where the district was, although I'm not from this area, okay? So we originally moved here and moved into an apartment for approximately a year before we found a place downtown that we wanted to live at. So we waited and we found the place at Dumarche, and we loved it there. And like I said, for the first year and a half, it was great. Ever since then, I just want to leave. I'm sick. I'm done with it. I've sent repeated emails asking for a status. I've sent an email to the mayor's office here that I've never received responses to. I've sent at least 3, and I sent one this morning, offering suggestions. You know, what can we do to help make these issues go away? And I get the same response, nothing. I hear crickets. I just about know, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but I know a lot of the RIPD that works that shift. We know about it. We're doing what we can with what we got. And it gets frustrating from a citizen standpoint where you have to live in it. And I'll invite any of you on the council, come to Playmakers area, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night, anytime after midnight, and see what we have to deal with. Why can't we get an unmarked car out there for observations? I'm willing to open up my house for the officers to have observations, because I got a clear view of what's going on. And it's not good. So, you know, like I said, they take over the intersection in the street, 11:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Come down anytime on the weekend. See for yourselves if you don't believe us. And you'll be treated to a show. And just imagine the people that have to live in that. So that's all I got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's all that's signed up here. Is there anybody virtual? Anybody virtual? Public comment. My only real quick comment on Blackhawk signage is that originally, and I told the press and several others that it was going to be on, there was something going to be on the agenda tonight, and it is not. We opted not to put anything on the agenda tonight. In regards to that, staff is going to be reaching out to individuals that have interest one way or the other with the signage, and speaking with different individuals and trying to get a good understanding. So once again, people can't say that they didn't hear, we didn't talk to, didn't understand. We will be reaching out to a number of them. If you don't hear from anybody from staff or city manager, please feel free to call and if you wish to speak your story or et cetera. And then staff will be bringing a recommendation back to city council at some point in the future. We want to take our time, not a long time, but we want to take our time to make sure that the decisions are made as wisely as we can. It's not an easy decision by any means. Some people are not going to be happy, don't know who, exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to come down, but That's the process that's going to happen at this point. We're going to sit here and staff is going to work on talking to individuals or groups make sure we have a good understanding of the stance, and then work on a decision. So it is not on, there's nothing on the agenda tonight in regards to the Indians signage, just so everybody knows.
I have something when you're
Yes.
done.
You had something you said?
When you're done.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Okay. So I want to address this during public comment because it's from me as the Ward 4 alderman and also the residents of Ward 4. As you all know, on Tuesday, we were hit with an F1 tornado. There was significant damage. Houses were damaged, large trees were damaged, roads were blocked. It was pretty much a war zone in my ward. And so I do want to thank the City Public Works Department. Within, I would say, 30 minutes of the storm being over, they were there. They were there clearing the trees. Mid-American Energy came right out to get power lines down. The police were around, making sure that people were safe. The fire department called extra shifts because we were expecting worse storms later on that day. MetroNet and MediaCom were out trying to restore service. The Red Cross, I was in contact with the Red Cross and their disaster response teams were out. I even saw them on Sunday, still driving around offering people snacks and making sure that everybody was okay. The residents came out. It was a horrific storm. Thankfully, nobody was hurt that I know of. But the residents all came out and helped each other. I mean, helped move trees. Even this weekend, people are working together to clear the brush, clear the trees. And so on behalf of Ward 4 residents, I just want to thank everybody for all that you did, especially the city, because you guys did the lion's share of the work. I got internet today. I was really happy. I got power on Friday. I was really happy. And it took 3 days to get my car out of the garage, but I'm happy because I have my car now. But I really do want to thank, and it was nice to see the community and the ward pull together. And I know other areas of the city were damaged too. But when you look at the track of that, it went right over Ward 4. So on behalf of the residents of Ward 4, thank you all for everything that you did.
I will add to that, Public Works started today doing free pickups of brush and trees around the city. They're working along with the garbage cycle. So they'll get to you. If you don't, please reach out. But if it's alongside the curb, it needs to be on the curbside. Try to make it as reasonably stacked as possible, size-wise and everything else. But they will take large product. But the city is doing this throughout the whole city, free of charge, so you don't need to worry about it. But like, once again, if you, after several weeks, it does not get picked up, please reach out, but it will take some time to get it picked up. But they're doing an outstanding job and working hard, long 10, 12-hour days with multiple shifts to get it picked up.
I did have a couple question, or a
Yes.
question. I had a couple residents reach out. Is it just brush, or is it, I had trampoline parts or things like that? So that's just a question that I was going to ask you later, so.
Right now, it's only brush. They could
Okay.
utilize a special pickup if they wanted
That
for those
was the
other
question.
items.
Okay.
But this is going to completely separate location.
Okay.
Not a landfill.
All right, thank you.
And when they have those special pickups, just for everybody, remember, everybody gets one free pickup each year of other garbage and everything they have. So we can do that. There's a small nominal fee for your second one in a year's time. It does take a little time to get that, because we are quite busy and everything else. It could take a couple weeks to get that picked up, but, did you
Yeah.
something, Mike?
Yeah, we're usually 6 weeks out for special pickups, probably a little longer now
Yeah.
because we're seeing an increase. But again, the first one is free, the second one is only $25. So I challenge anyone to be able to set out anything at the curb and get rid of it for $25.
That's right. That's exactly. So, but that is still
Yeah.
available out there.
Okay.
Just have some patience.
Yep.
But feel free to reach out if you have questions.
Well,
Yes.
just to follow up with the storm, I really appreciate that Public Works in particular had done some pre-planning, had equipment, contractors lined up, because like Alderwoman Swanson said, literally within a very short time after the storm ended, I saw our guys out there in the front loaders moving heavy trees out of the streets so that the streets were accessible in case, for emergency vehicles and that kind of thing. And that was really,
Between them and Mid-America, they were reaching out with emails.
Oh, yeah.
On a regular basis, offering generators and phone charging and just a multitude of things. So everybody worked very, very well in harmony together to keep everybody as safe as they could and recover. So thank
I
you.
would commend the entire city, because in a situation like this, you go into instant triage. You find out who has the biggest cut, and you try to fix that first. And you only have so many resources that you have available. So kudos to the citizens.
And neighbors,
for,
absolutely.
For at least having patience, and of course, let's not forget our first responders, which is the
That's right.
police, fire, and public works.
Yep. Okay, moving on. Item number 7.
Minutes from the March 27th, 2023 study session and city council meeting.
Move to approve the minutes as amended, and I'll explain.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
So, in the study session minutes, in the last paragraph under the campground presentation, so I had asked the question of our city manager if the Sunset Marina feasibility study, if that was coming out of ARPA funds, the $1 million allocation for the marina, and where would the funds come for the campground feasibility study that Parks wants to do. And the response that was put in the minutes was not quite what Todd responded.
Okay, but that's been amended, noted, and
No, it hasn't been amended. It
hasn't.
has to be
has
amended
to be-
yet.
Okay.
So, yeah. It's-
Otherwise, you improve it with that amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson. Alderperson Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt. Okay, Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson. Aye. And Parker.
Aye.
Thank you. A little soft there. Item number 8, Rock Island update. Got a couple items. Calling all gardeners. The Rock Island Public Library has opened its Seed Library. Stop by the downtown library branch at 401 19th Street. From now through September, anyone may pick out 5 free seed packets per household per month. No library card is required. Choose from a selection of vegetables and flower seeds. Raise money for the Rock Island Parks Department while enjoying delicious food and sampling spring-themed wines. The next Park Wine and Dine fundraiser is Thursday, April 13th at the QC Coffee and Pancake House, 1831 3rd Avenue. Register by April 11th by calling 309-788-9589. The cost is $85 per person. And finally, the City of Rock Island would like to recognize its emergency service dispatchers. The week of April 9th to the 15th is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. The City of Rock Island currently has 13 telecommunicator positions who handle more than 34,000 911 calls and another 190,000 calls of service annually. Every day, millions of people depend on the skills, expertise, and commitment for the men and women who work in public safety telecommunications. These individuals help save lives by answering emergency phone calls, dispatching emergency professionals and equipment, and providing moral support in citizens in distress. So once again, thank you to them. Item number 9.
Proclamation declaring April 17th through the 21st, 2023 as National Work Zone Awareness Week in the City of Rock Island. whereas highway and street construction work, as well as repairs to roadways, are often completed while the roadways are open to traffic, putting both motorists and workers at risk every day. And whereas public works, law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, and other emergency personnel put themselves in harm's way on the roads each day during the performance of their duties. And whereas workers diligently continue to improve, rebuild, and maintain roadways so that motorists can safely and effectively travel. And whereas accidents can be prevented by setting aside distractions, using extra caution, reducing speed, and giving work zones your undivided attention while motoring. And whereas the City of Rock Island is dedicated to ensuring the safety of workers, motorists, passengers, bicyclists, and pedestrians while in work zones. And whereas the City of Rock Island reminds motorists the importance of always maintaining safe, smart driving habits during the construction season and while operating a motor vehicle. And whereas the City of Rock Island also reminds motorists the hands-on use of cell phones, as well as sending, reading, or composing electronic messages while driving is unsafe for everyone, and that motorists should slow down, change lanes if possible, when approaching an emergency construction or maintenance vehicle that is stationary and or displaying flashing lights. And
Now, therefore, I, Mike Tomes, Mayor of the City of Rock Island, do hereby proclaim the week of April 17th through the 21st, 2023 as National Work Zone Awareness Week. In the City of Rock Island, we urge all citizens to practice safe, responsible driving while traveling on the roadways year-round and especially during construction season. Is anybody here for this? Okay, not here. That's fine. We will get that to them, but very important issues. Item number 10.
proclamation declaring the month of April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Rock Island. Whereas the City of Rock Island reminds us that child abuse can be prevented, and whereas every child deserves to be safe, nurtured, and supported in caring relationships, and whereas everyone has a role to play in preventing child abuse, and all citizens must be aware of the importance of supporting parents to raise their children in a safe and nurturing environment. And whereas too many of our nation's children are exposed to extreme and sustained stress, such as child abuse and neglect, which can be devastating to a child's development. And whereas too many of our nation's children are sustaining stress, such as child abuse, and that we need to lay the foundation for children's later growth and development, while the entire community takes responsibility for creating healthy environments in which to raise our children. And whereas the children in our community who have fallen victim to maltreatment deserve high-quality, evidence-based services delivered by committed and well-supported professionals. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of community partnerships created among families, social service agencies, schools, businesses, law enforcement agencies, faith-based organizations, and other child-serving agencies. And whereas it is easier to build strong, healthy children that heal traumatized adults.
Now therefore, I, Mike Tomes, Mayor of the City of Rock Island, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 Child Abuse Prevention Month in the City of Rock Island, and urge all citizens, businesses, social institutions to dedicate themselves to the task of supporting parents in their critical job of raising safe, healthy children, while ensuring the health and safety of all children in Rock Island. I know Mark Matthews, the Executive Director of Every Child, is here. Mark, we can do a little photo, but I'd like to have you speak if you wish. Of course, as they say, the key word is prevention, not just. Sir, thank you. You want to say a little something?
Good evening. I noticed everyone cleared out. The child abuse guy was going to talk, so I understand it. My name is Mark Matthews. I'm the Executive Director of Every Child, formerly the Child Abuse Council. Thank you very much for having me tonight. There are so many things that we can disagree about. But last year, in the Quad Cities, there were 1,800 reports of children who were abused and neglected. We've thrown out the term unacceptable many times tonight. That is unacceptable.
Yeah.
I've been a resident of the Broadway District here in Rock Island for 25 years, and I want to thank the council, the mayor, for making it such a wonderful place for me and my family to live. I truly mean that. And again, we have a lot to disagree about, but one thing we can all agree on is that children deserve to be loved, to be cherished, to have a happy and healthy childhood. Thank you for your partnership in making that happen. Thank you for this proclamation. I sincerely appreciate it.
How about a plug for your fundraiser?
April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Every child has an annual gala the last Thursday of the month. Please check out our website, www.foreverychild.org, for more information on the pinwheel gardens we do to raise awareness and the fundraisers we do to help support the 10 different programs we do, all aimed at prevention. That's the way to get to this.
I got a
So-
table. We're going.
Thank you.
So that's great. And I've helped put the pinwheels out before, too. Monard Woodman, one time, we did 300 pinwheels over at Monard Woodman, one for each one of their employees. It's a great organization. And to keep plugging it, once again, they also work with mothers and I'll say parents to be with different issues also, to work on nurturing and working with their newborns. A lot of new mothers are nervous about different situations, not sure and they've never been there before. And so the organization works even at the prevention part of it, of sort of saying, let's see if we can prevent it from happening versus just dealing it once it's happened. And so they do that with newborn or new mothers, mothers-to-be, along with families. And so it's very, very important to work on, as people say, go to the root of the problem and work with prevention, not just recovery. And so I keep giving plugs on there, but Mark's done a great job of growing that program, and could you always use any support if anybody wishes. But thank you, Mark.
I'll leave you with some great news. It's preventable. We can prevent it.
That's right.
We'll get there someday with your support and your help. So thank you.
Yes,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate it. All right. Item number 11.
Proclamation declaring the month of April 2023 as Earth Month in the city of Rock Island, whereas Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, with the goal of inspiring an appreciation of our nation's natural resources through conservation and protection. And whereas the celebration of this day marks an annual review of and commitment to the principles of that first Earth Day. And whereas Earth Day marks a renewed commitment to environmental stewardship and to the implementation of sustainability efforts. And whereas the global community now faces extraordinary challenges such as environmental degradation, global health issues, climate change, food and water shortages, and whereas a green economy can be achieved on the individual level through education, public policy, and consumer activism campaigns. And whereas it is understood that the citizens of the global community must step forward and take action to create positive environmental change to combat the aforementioned global challenges. And whereas the City of Rock Island celebrates Earth Day by extending it to the month of April in recognition of the commitment to environmental stewardship, and whereas the residents of the City of Rock Island are encouraged to implement practices designed to preserve and protect our environment and shape the future of our environmental security.
Now therefore, I, Mike Tomes, Mayor of the City of Rock Island, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as Earth Month in the City of Rock Island. And boy, how important after this last storm and everything else, we lost a lot of trees and everything else. And so it's very important that we all get out there and maybe replant and help the environment. It really could be very helpful. I know Chipionic Cemetery lost a bunch, along with their neighbors, as we talked about earlier, but the derecho, they lost about 100 trees during that derecho several years ago. And so it's very, very important that we start replenishing and not just take. All right. Is there anybody here? I didn't ask. Is there anybody here for this? Not, I can't remember. Very good. All right, we'll move on. Item number 12.
A special ordinance requesting the transfer of the city's 2023 Home Rule Volume Cap to Quad Cities Regional Economic Development Authority, second reading.
Motion to pass the special ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 13.
An ordinance regarding the annexation of 17 city-owned parcels of land in the city's southwest area, second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 14.
An ordinance regarding the rezoning from R1, 1-unit residential district to C2 natural conservation district for 17 parcels near the city's southwest area. Second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 15.
Consent agenda items A through G.
Move to approve consent agenda items A through G.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question about item F.
Okay.
Mike, so are these the new boilers that have been put into City Hall, Ryvik?
Yes, new and old. So the police station obviously wasn't part of the JCI contract as far
Right.
as the boilers, but they are newer boilers. So
So
yes, yes
did-
and no.
Did we have any warranties with the JCI contract, or no?
We do have warranty. It's a year, and so we're coming up on that. We just finished the punch list items for the contract, and so we don't have the staff knowledge to.
Oh, no, I understand that, but I'm just wondering about JCI's responsibility, so.
Yeah, their responsibility as far as the boiler system itself is up.
So is there more work to be done on the City Hall boiler or that whole system?
No, the boiler is complete. Yeah.
Okay, so are we gonna be getting an update or a report on the status of the JCI project?
Yeah, as soon as all the punch list items have been completed, which should be here in the next month or two. I know there's an outstanding issue with the library, and then we have some minor issues at the RIFAC facility.
No issue here at City Hall?
No, I mean, we've had some, fluctuations.
Hearing from staff, but okay.
Fluctuations in the temperatures, but, we're working through those. Part of the issue is that, I'll use an example, when this project was originally put forward,
Yeah.
the easiest thing was to do the Cadillac and replace everything with new. But on some of these items, that wasn't done in an effort to save cost. And so some of the units or mechanicals that were in this facility were reconditioned. So some of the motors and things of that nature were replaced, but not the whole unit itself. And so we've been dealing with some of those issues, some compressors failing that had needed to be replaced that weren't part of the contract. And so those are some of the items that we're having to deal with too. We've had some issues with the new equipment that's been installed, but that's not uncommon.
Okay.
There was one vendor that put in a bid that was listed as incomplete. It was significantly lower. Why were they even listed if it was incomplete, and what was incomplete about it?
We always generally put a bid that's incomplete on the bid tab, just to show other vendors that, because they all know who submitted for that.
Right.
And they would want to see that as incomplete and what the cost was. So we don't ever hide that for transparency reasons.
What was incomplete about it?
In talking with the business, that basically you take a model number of the specific boiler and plug it into their system. Again, we're not boiler professionals, that's why we're talking about this tonight. But they take the serial number of the unit that we're wanting the maintenance contract for, and it spits out a maintenance program and cost for that. And from what I understand, they inputted that information wrong, and the cost for that maintenance was significantly less than it should have been. The boiler size was bigger than what they were being told by their system. So it was an error on their part.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. There's a discussion. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 16.
Claims A through C.
Move to allow claims A through C.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Due to the nature of my employment, I need to recuse myself.
Okay. Roll call, please. I'm sorry.
Alderperson Poulos.
No thought going.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
And Swanson.
Aye.
I was just thinking, my comment was is that how well fast they're moving on the parking lot over here.
Yes.
It's moving right along, pouring a big slab of concrete today. Item 17.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a contract to IMEG Corporation of Rock Island, Illinois, in the amount of $300,000 for Phase 1 and 2 design services for the First Avenue, Illinois 92 reconstruction road diet project between 16th and 24th Streets.
Move to approve the contract as recommended, authorize the city manager to execute the agreement and adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? I think this is an exciting project. Just to make my comment is, narrowing down First Avenue from over to Schreiber Park area, everything else. I think you make it a lot more pedestrian friendly, safe to obviously cross. And then it opens up the opportunities for quiet zones in the future for the rail crossings, to have the space for that. So it opens up doors to be able to do this. It's been on the CIP program for on the page for a long time. So I think this is a great move to head down that direction. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 18.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a funding agreement with the Community Caring Conference, CCC.
Move to approve the funding agreement as recommended and allow the city manager to execute the documents.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 19.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding the sale of city-owned properties, and I'll just read the first one is 1128 4th Avenue to Makabaziga Agnes for $1,042.50 plus closing costs. B, the property located at 1425 11th Street to Magabu Antone for $2,531 plus closing costs. C, property at 422 8th Street to Magabu Antone for $4,502.69 plus closing cost. D, the location at 601 5th Street to Vazaduvan Ragavan and Georgi Ramasamy for $1,825 plus closing costs, and property at 517 5th Street to Numakabi Zaga Agnes for $683.50 plus closing costs, 515 5th Street to Magabi Zaga Agnes for $2,406.94 plus closing costs, and then the last property at 1028 3rd Avenue to Makazi Fostein for $951 plus closing costs.
Motion to approve the sales as recommended, authorize the city manager to execute the sales agreements and consider the ordinances A through G.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion?
What's that? Oh.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Rules. Aye.
Robinson. Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt. Excuse me, he's not here. Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item number 20.
Report from the Parks and Rec Department and City Clerk's Office regarding a highway resolution for the closure of First Avenue between 17th Street and 20th Street on Monday, July 3rd, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., along with the rain date of Tuesday, July 4th, for the annual Red, White, and Boom fireworks display and concert at Schwiebert Riverfront Park.
Move to adopt the resolution as recommended.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Besides the
Let's have a
the
party.
docks are back together down there. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 21.
Report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment for the Martin Luther King Jr. Center, increasing the MLK Activity Fund 901 revenue by $65,000 and expense budget by $159,767 for CY 2023.
Call on Linda.
Okay. We need a motion. We want to get a motion first. Or?
Move to approve the budget adjustment as recommended.
Second. So
Moved to second. Discussion.
we need discussion, yeah.
And Linda. I think you're,
All right, good evening, everyone. So just bringing some clarity from 2 weeks ago and just trying to give some additional information on budget adjustments. So when we do budget adjustments, they vary. They could be expenses only, which the majority are. And the reason for that is because the revenue has already been budgeted in the current year, or the revenue was received in the prior year. Then there's the matching revenues and expenses, and that's normally due to unbudgeted revenue. So if a new grant comes in, we want to budget that revenue and the expenses for the year. Then we get the one with the varying, where the revenues don't match. Again, it could be different reasons, but the majority of the time it's because the revenue was received in the previous year, so we don't budget that revenue again. But then there's always exceptions. So that's why we're looking at the revised one today. We made an audit adjustment where we did like what's called unearned income. So we reduced the revenue in '22 to match the expenses, and then we moved that additional amount forward. So as you can see, now the revenues and expenses are matching in this particular memo. So there's no one particular answer, to budget adjustments. It varies. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so at the last meeting, the unspent funds from 2022 was $94,767. So it's gone up by $5,320.50 carryover, plus the $65,000.
Right, and that was just going back and really looking at our records. So what I did was look at the revenue that came in for '22 for that particular grant. And then we had to look at the expenses for '22. So when you subtract that difference, that's the amount that you're seeing for '23.
So when you re-looked at the records, you found there was more carryover money. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, the other question I had at the last meeting was, because I believe Mr. Jones had said at some point, so it says revenue John Deere, but some things have been John Deere corporate and some things have been John Deere Foundation. I guess I'm just curious, the carryover money, is that the original money from the foundation?
It may be coming from John Deere Corporate, but it flows through the John Deere Foundation, and that's who writes the check, and so that's how we record it on our books.
Okay, there was at one meeting you had said, oh no, the John Deere Corporate was funding something.
Right, and I made that correction because John Deere has made it clear to me they like that distinction. However, on our books, it'll always look like, since the check is coming from the foundation, it'll be recorded coming from John Deere Foundation.
Okay.
And it's a distinction that we make because later on, foundation is truly interested, those dollars won't count against our opportunity to apply for more dollars.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Linda.
okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson. Aye. And Parker.
Aye.
Item 22.
Report from the Mayor's Office regarding reappointments to the Library Board, Liquor Commission, and Police Pension Board.
Move to approve the reappointments as recommended.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Well, I guess I have a question, and I've said it before. I think that I get reappointments are great and everybody wants to continue on stuff, but I think sometimes it's important to have new blood and stuff and open the opportunity up to other people in the community who may want to serve on committees.
And we continue to look at that. In this case, and I'm trying to remember, use my memory on some of these. Some were only one term. They've only been there for, I'll say, one term. And so this is the second, so I typically at least let them have more than one. But I can't remember about each one individually, so I can't quote if it's the Liquor Commission, that's the case, or if it's the library. The Police Pension Board is just one, both of that one and the fire. I know that there's only one appointment, the rest are all elected by those pension boards.
And I don't have a problem with any of the people.
Yeah.
I just-
No, I know you don't.
I'm just pointing it
I don't think
out.
anybody's been in any question about that, but.
And some of the ordinances clearly say how many terms they can have.
Correct.
And some don't address the
That's
issue at
correct.
all.
That's correct.
So it's keeping track of that. Must
That
be
is correct.
Samantha's
And
problem.
there's been some discussion ongoing, whether even when we rewrite ordinances or look at it, other ones, should there be term limits or not? There's pluses and minuses to both of those, and we've been discussing that, and I think the city manager may be talking to the council over time to see their feeling on some of those, but there is, like I say, it could be argued either way. But so we will keep, or I should say, I will continue to keep that in mind. There are some that we have also, like the preservation currently, 4 openings, I think, or 5 openings in the preservation, and we only got 2 applications. And so, and we've advertised it several times, if not one, at least once, but maybe several times. And so there's a few that we're still struggling on getting applicants to, to find replacements. And so that becomes an issue on some boards and commissions. So, yes.
Just because you mentioned it, because somebody just asked me, like, how do they get on the boards? And I referred them
Right.
to the website, and there's the online application.
Yes.
But does it say, like, if there are any current vacancies on that website page?
It does, I'm trying to think of vacancy, all the dates, expiration dates are on there.
No,
so
I
they can
mean,
see them,
like,
but-
on the application page, it say, we're looking for people for these ones?
No, I think currently we're just using the news feed as well as our Facebook.
But I don't think it says on the
So it
application.
says like it's almost like a press release in a sense.
People aren't gonna read more than one
Yeah.
location. Not
But no,
gonna
I don't think
happen.
it does on the application.
Yeah, on the online portion.
On the online
Yeah,
portion.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, we could try to work on that. Or like I say, looking at, of course, this new software and everything else to help make that a little more user-friendly and mobile app, so to speak. So we'll continue to work on it. Please keep me, my feet to the fire on it. And we'd like to see new people, but I know the staff keeps my feet to the fire on those. And I always try to refer to the liaison for the city also on these. All right, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 23.
Report from the City Clerk's Office regarding a request from the Augustana College Office of Student Life and Leadership to use sound amplification on Saturday, May 6th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Lindbergh Stadium, 520 38th Street, as part of their annual Slew Fest.
Move to approve the sound amplification permit as recommended.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 24.
Report from the City Clerk's Office regarding a request from Jason Paris of Wake Brewing for outdoor entertainment with sound amplification and the outdoor sale and consumption of alcohol in the fenced-in area at 2529 Fifth Avenue on multiple dates beginning Saturday, May 6, 2023, through Saturday, September 30th, 2023.
Motion to approve the outdoor event and sound amplification request, including the sale of alcohol in the fenced-in area, subject to complying with all liquor license regulations and closing early if complaints are received.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Item 25.
Report from the City Clerk's Office regarding a request from Beth Lamb of the Broadway and Roosters Bar and Grill to close 21st and 22nd Streets between 3rd and 4th Avenue and the accompanying alleyways on Saturday, June 24th, 2023, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Sunday, June 25th, for a blues and jazz festival.
Motion
Motion
to,
to,
oh, go ahead, Moses.
motion to approve the request as recommended.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
26. Other business. And good for the cause.
I do have one thing. So there is, and this is kudos to us, there was a lot of stuff going on out on the Nextdoor app about taste and smell of Davenport's water. And they reached out to the city to complain about the chlorine in their water, and were told by the city, we have absolutely no control over what goes into our water. So kudos to this council for keeping our water with the city, because if people call us and ask what's in the water, not us, but the city, the water department can tell them exactly what's in it. So I was really proud of the fact that we voted to keep our water, so we don't have that issue.
We just voted a month or so ago for the best water in the region.
Yes, indeed,
and
and
so
we do. We do have.
Hey, Mayor, real quick, I just want to congratulate Bree Bill and her family for being selected to the Minnesota in the WNBA draft.
Yes.
Timberwolves, you said?
No.
Lynx.
Lynx, Minnesota Lynx.
Oh, Lynx.
Okay. Outstanding. That's great.
I would just like to say congratulations to our incumbents who won re-election.
Ah, yes.
I echo that, yes.
Yes. Echo that also. Nothing else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved to second. Roll call.
Alderperson Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert. Swanson.
Aye.
And Parker.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
I couldn't resist.